Good morning, everyone. So grateful to be speaking with you this morning on the power of appreciation. It's a great honor to be here. Every morning, as soon as I can, I sit. I find a place, any place, and I sit. I don't try to assume some sort of holy position, that holy position we can get into so we can meditate as hard as we can, that kind of thing. I just try to be comfortable. And for me, if I'm comfortable, it's holy. That doesn't mean that I don't bring intention to the symbolism in my posture, because I love the symbolism of good posture when we sit. I like crossing my legs or folding my hands and knowing that that is a symbol of unity, of coming together. I love bringing attention to my breath as it moves in and out so that I can be aware of the interdependence of the inside and the outside. I love closing my eyes as a symbol of turning away from the conditions of the visible world to turn to the unlimited nature of the inner world. And once in a while, I don't do it too often because it's so uncomfortable, but to get on one's knees in a symbol of surrender and humility before the divine presence. But most of the time when I sit, it's kind of like this. And again, it can be sacred because it is indeed holy to be comfortable. When I sit, I always have two tools with me. The first is a cup of coffee, and the second is a good book. The coffee for me is for the caffeine, absolutely, but it's also because it helps me engage with my senses. I love the smell, I love the taste, I love the sense of warmth that it gives my body, and it helps me to appreciate my body. And that's, for me, where the appreciation of my life on a daily basis begins, to just be in appreciation of how I feel, my mind, my body, my life. Many people, they call this experience meditation, but I just prefer to call it appreciation, because I don't always know what meditation necessarily is. It's just something I think that happens through just appreciating. On certain days, it's harder for me to appreciate than on other days. Something from the past comes up that's bothering me, or something in the future that's worrying me. And what I do if I can't forgive or know the truth right then, I try to make an appointment to meet with that thing a little later when I'm done. If there's anything that I've learned from my problems is they don't mind hanging out and waiting for me. If they were to go away, that would be just fine too. But I do my best just to appreciate where I am. And then I grab the book. And there's two rules for the book that I read. The first is that it's got to be spiritual. I know that's kind of a duh, but it's important. The second is that it's got to be to the point. I don't want to open the page to something that's trying to prepare me for something 3 pages later. I like it when each statement is complete within itself, that I can just kind of close my eyes and flip around and like magic open to the right perfect page. Anyone else do that? One of my favorite books is This Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes, to use in my daily spiritual practice. And he might say something like this: the greatest gift life could have made to you is yourself. You are spontaneous, self-choosing center in life, in the great drama of being, the great joy of becoming, the certainty of eternal expansion. You could not ask for more, and more could not have been given. This is that spiritual breakfast cereal, because you've got to sit with it and just kind of allow it to digest. So I appreciate the words. And when I feel like I've appreciated them long enough, I move into appreciating in the form of prayer, which again, I think it's often called prayer, but for me it's another form of the power of appreciation. Because what I do is I do my best to cultivate as much as I can an appreciation of the infinite. Hopefully it's a little more each and every day. And what I do is I take that appreciation that I'm able to cultivate and know in my consciousness in that moment, and I apply it to myself. I apply it to my circumstances. I apply it to people whom I love and people who have asked for me to pray for them. I recognize that there is an infinite presence that is love, that is wholeness, that is gratitude, that is the whole of being complete in everything. And I know in this reverence that it is, that my reverence expands, realizing that what it is true of me too. And as I know it to be true of myself, I know that I flow with its harmony as I give my message at the Santa Rosa Center for Spiritual Living. I know it to be true of my loved ones. I know it to be true of those who have prayed for me, and I know it for each condition that they're going through. In great appreciation, I let it be, and so it is. Amen. And then I'm complete with my spiritual practice for that day. It doesn't take me usually more than 10 to 15 minutes. For me, doing any longer than that doesn't make me more spiritual or anything like that, but again, that's just for me. And what I've come to learn about my spiritual practice, about the power of appreciation, is it's really the most important thing that I do each and every day. In truth, I've come to believe that in many ways, it is the only thing I do each and every day. Because what happens is that every instance, every encounter, every confrontation, every choice that follows my time of appreciation in the morning is founded on what I was able to accomplish in that time. The choices I make aren't in reaction to what occurs during that day, but indeed in that consciousness of appreciation I was able to cultivate. It's really an amazing thing when I think about it. Everything that is good and holy in my experience of life has come through the power of appreciation. The ability to be grateful. The ability to open myself for forgiveness, for healing. The ability to understand what first cause is or what wholeness is. The ability to embrace an evolving and deepening experience of me, of God, of people I love, all because of the power of appreciation. We're celebrating Thanksgiving, and gratitude is, to me, one of the greatest gifts that the power of appreciation has given me. In many Indian philosophies, they teach that we don't just have one body. They teach that we have many bodies. And one way of interpreting it is to say that our initial body is our food body. It's the body that's for the worms. It's for the earth. The next layer of body we might call the breath body. It's the I am body. It's the breath. If you take a breath with me, it's the breath that says, I am. I exist. I'm here. Deeper than that is the body of the senses. This is where that I am energy moves into sight and touch and taste and smell, where we center and know ourselves embodied in our being. Deeper than that is the wisdom body. This is what Ernest Holmes would refer to as the one mind. It is a collective of all the wisdom and all the understanding of the ages that each of us tap into, that each of us are a part of, that inspires each of us to not only live, but have a comprehension of what life is. And then the deepest body of all is known as the bliss body. It's the part of ourselves that is always aware of its oneness with God, and therefore is always in bliss, always in joy. To put it in Christian terms, it's like the part of us that is in heaven already while we are here on earth, guiding us, inspiring us, moving us. For me, we might as well just call the bliss body the gratitude body. It is that part of ourselves that is in gratitude all of the time. And I'm wondering if that resonates with you. I know it resonates with me, that this idea that there's a part of me that is in gratitude all of the time, no matter what. A part of me. Do you resonate with that? I remember after one of my appreciation practices, heading into the bathroom and looking at myself in the mirror and knowing something different about myself that day. There was a gray hair right here. I have several now, but this is the first time I noticed one, and I immediately kind of went into a panic. It's all downhill from here. But I stopped myself, and I said, you know what? I'm going to ask myself how I really feel about this situation. So I just took a deep breath. How do I really feel? And the answer was just grateful. So grateful. That's how I really feel. Grateful to be alive. Grateful that life is, grateful for my connections, grateful to do the work that I do, just so grateful. Was I grateful for the gray hair? No, I wasn't. But it reminds me of something the late modern philosopher Robert Anton Wilson said. He said, "You are exactly as large as that which you love and exactly as small as that which you allow to annoy you." So this breath for me was about getting back to the wholeness. I've come to call it for myself a gratitude breath. When someone pisses me off, I take a gratitude breath. When I'm in traffic and I'm not getting where I want to go, I take a gratitude breath. It's recognizing that I am not the victim of circumstances, but I'm always available to me is the opportunity to appreciate the whole of my life, and that no one or nothing or no circumstance can ever take that from me. The power of appreciation gives me the power of gratitude, and it allows me to see wholeness, not just in relationship to all of my life, but to any given thing I'm willing to give my attention and focus to. What an amazing power we have, that through our consciousness we can reveal the sacredness of anything. It is a great tool, a great gift. I remember one time someone talked me into doing the master cleanse. How many people here have tried the master cleanse? And I've practiced a lot of self-torture in my day, but food is usually not a place where I try it. And the Master Cleanse, it's a diet program where for 10 days, and anyone, you can correct me afterwards if I'm wrong, but I think it's lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup. I imagine someone out there going, get a load of this, I'm going to put this on the internet and see how many people try it, that kind of thing. So I get about 4 days in, and I'm really suffering. And so I go back into my kitchen, way back in the pantry, and I grab that can of pea soup that's in the back of all of our cupboards. That can of pea soup that's been there maybe 2, 3, for some of us maybe even longer than that. That can of pea soup that you didn't even want to take to the can drive because you were worried about it. You just left it right there. So I grabbed that can of pea soup and I warmed it up. And I will tell you, it was probably the most sacred, divine experience of my whole life. Tasting, feeling, experiencing the wealth and the nourishment in that delicious pea soup. Allen Ginsberg, the poet, said, when you notice something clearly and see it vividly, it then becomes sacred. James Joyce said, any object intensely regarded may be the gate of access to the incorruptible eon of the gods. Now, I'm not saying make pea soup more than it is. I'm saying everything can be sacred, especially when we apply that logic to experiencing the divine through our partner or in ourselves or in someone we love or in something we care about. The power of appreciation allows us to draw forth an experience of the sacred in anything. Now, the power of appreciation isn't all hearts and flowers. What I've learned is that the power of appreciation hasn't made my problems go away. It hasn't made my issues go away. In fact, it's amplified them. It hasn't made my problems go away. It's made me more aware of them. It hasn't made my issues go away. It's made me more conscious that they're there. I still have the same temper I always had. I still have the same abandonment issues that I've always had. But what's different through the power of appreciation, these issues, these neuroses, we might say, no longer have control over me. I'm in control of them. I am aware of them. I listen to them. They come up, but I am always at choice. That power of appreciation always gives us the power to choose how we're going to respond to anything that's taking place, including for myself when I'm all over the place, when I'm scattered. What I've learned through the power of appreciation is that there's really no such thing as mediocrity. There's really no such thing as boredom. They're really symptoms of defective experience. The power of appreciation has taught me that if anything feels missing in my life, I don't care if it's a girl, if it's money, if it's a sense of completeness or success, whatever it is, the first place that I always need to look is within myself. If anything is missing from your life, maybe it's you. Maybe it's that application of who you are fully and completely with that power of appreciation. The power of appreciation has given me the gift of wholeness. It's easy to know myself as whole when I'm feeling really successful and doing great, but it's particularly been powerful when I feel broken, when I don't feel good, to know myself in relationship with the whole. It's helped me be there for other people as well. I remember getting a call from a friend of mine named John, who was laid off during the Great Recession, and he was one of those fellas that was really identified with his job. It was really who he was. So it was really difficult for him, and as opposed to addressing his hurt feelings, he just kept trying to get that new job so he could have a sense of identity again. And a year and a half into that search, he had felt really broken down. He had really lost a sense of self, sense of dignity, sense of purpose. This particular morning, he had called me. I was excited to hear from him because I knew he was interviewing for his dream job, a job opportunity he had always wanted. He called me that morning because he was unable to get out of bed. He was in such fear. His dignity felt that it was at such its last moment that one more rejection, one more no, and he would completely fall apart. So there he was in his brokenness. And you know what I wanted to do? It's the first thing that I usually want to do when I'm hearing anyone's problem. I want to fix it. I want to make it better. John, arise and walk. Go to that job interview. Just be yourself. Go get him, Tiger. But that wouldn't have been very authentic. That wouldn't have had a lot of faith and trust in John's ability to go through his process that he needed to. And if it wasn't for being able to know that wholeness that is in all places at all times, I would have tried to fix. But something more powerful than that happened because I was able to just be a presence. I was able to just listen. I was able just to know. I was able to feel safe even in the fear, even in the struggle. This is something this week that I see reflected in what's going on in Ferguson and in the country's experience of what it is. No matter what, if anything that I know, not knowing all the facts of that circumstance, is a child of God, killed a child of God, and whenever that happens, something tragic has taken place. So hearing the pain from different aspects of our community, feeling the anger from different aspects of our community, you know the first thing that I want to do, the first thing that most of us want to do, we want to fix it. We want to make it better. Our culture needs to be this way. You need to act this way. You need to do this. You need to do that. We want to tell everyone kind of how they should go about things. But for me, the power of wholeness tells me to stay present, to continue to listen, to recognize that healing and transformation doesn't always come immediately, doesn't always come in an hour, doesn't always come in a month. Sometimes it takes years, but it takes the strength of those who are willing to be present, to listen with that open heart, to make a situation like what's going on not be an opening for the wound to get deeper, but for healing to take place. What we're called to do in sense of being spiritual practitioners is to hold it open, to hold that space, to be that space for others. I remember something very powerful that I read that the author Parker Palmer shared in a book called The Hidden Wholeness. He talks about going on retreat in Minnesota where the wilderness had been torn apart through a storm. He says, "The wilderness constantly reminds me that wholeness is not about perfection. On July 4th, 1999, a 20-minute maelstrom of hurricane-force winds took down 20 million trees across Boundary Waters. A month later, when I made my annual pilgrimage up north, I was heartbroken by the ruin and wondered whether I wanted to return. And yet, on each visit since, I have been astonished to see how nature uses devastation to stimulate new growth, slowly but persistently healing her own wounds. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means embracing brokenness as an integral part of life. Knowing this gives me hope that human wholeness, mine, yours, ours, need not be a utopian dream if we can use devastation as a seedbed for new life. The question is, am I strong enough? And as I'll get to in a second, can I trust enough to allow nature, the divine, to reveal itself? It was not an easy road for my friend John. He went deeper and deeper into alcoholism. He had to move in with his mother, who soon passed away. He went deeper and deeper into a sense of brokenness. But eventually, he practiced. He worked his way through. He listened to himself. He got sober. Before you knew it, he had a job that he hated. But he had a job. And then he had a job that he didn't hate as much. And then he had a job that he just didn't like, and that would do. And he's still doing his work. He's a couple years being sober, and you know what? He did it himself. He did it through opening himself to experience the divine in him. He didn't need my help other than to be a strong, supportive presence in his life. Perhaps the most powerful thing that the power of appreciation has allowed me in my life is trust. Trust in myself, trust in God, trust in what we call the process. I've loved listening to Dr. Edward and Dr. Joyce talking about the power of receiving this month, and there's not much to add because they've put it together so well, but what I would add is to say, without trust, I can't really receive anything. I will reject it all. It takes truly trusting, building that rapport with myself that says how I feel is something that deserves to be heard no matter what it is. It believes trusting that God can perform a miracle in my life, that God can open my heart and bring love into my life. It demands this trust in order to receive it. I have to be willing to trust the process, that there are intentions, deep soul intentions, each of us plant in our lives that grow and flower for us, but we have to trust in them. We have to be good stewards of those seeds that we've planted. This is easy to do when things are going well and harder to do when things feel unknown, uncertain, scary. I remember a couple months ago, I got to go to Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park, California with my girlfriend and our son, and there was a ride there that he really wanted to go on. He's 9 years old at the time, called the Accelerator. And it's not one of those roller coasters that prepares you by going chicka, 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 chicka. It's one of those that just shoots you out right away, and you go way, way, way up, way into what feels like zero gravity for a few seconds, and then it drops you down, you go upside down, and it's over in about 10 seconds. And I thought, this is what life is like. Because I'm there. First of all, I'm trying not to look scared because the 9-year-old's got a big smile on his face next to me. But I'm holding on for dear life, and the fear as we take off turns into exhilaration, turns into relief, turns into laughter. Isn't life kind of like that sometimes? The fear turns into exhilaration, turns into relief, turns into laughter. But it demands our trust. It demands that we remember it's just a ride. It demands that we strap ourselves in and hold on from fear into exhilaration, into relief, into laughter. "Wow, Gavin," I said, "what a ride." "Yes," he said, "let's go on again." So in the spirit of appreciation, I invite us to move into a time of prayerfulness, as we just simply take a moment to recognize that appreciation is indeed one of the highest qualities of God. Planted in the heart of each and every one of us, it is ours to steward, ours to support, ours to expand. Through this appreciation, I know indeed all things are possible, all things are indeed powerful as well. Wherever it is in our lives where we are being called to have a greater experience of spirit, a greater experience of ourselves, a greater experience of the depth of life, may we enter with an appreciative consciousness. May we open ourselves to receive newfound experiences of love, of healing, of forgiveness, and of exhilaration, knowing there is indeed a divine truth that expresses through each one of us, that as Ernest Holmes would say, we are not just individuals, we are individualizations of. I know that centered right in the heart of who we are is the ability to bring the divine to life. May we bring it to our own lives. May we bring it to the consciousness of our country. May we bring it to any circumstances where the divine is not being currently known or understood at this time, knowing that we are a presence for it to be known and to take place. We let it be in deep gratitude, and so it is.